Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this event organized by the Institute of Electronic Arts, also known as the IEA, part of the School of Art and Design at Alva University. The IEA is dedicated to supporting contemporary artists through its primary focus on residency programs. These residencies provide artists with the opportunity to engage in vital research using electronic media, new technologies, and print media within fine arts disciplines, while also benefiting local, regional, and global communities. In addition to residencies, the IEA supports involving electronic studio research labs, hosts national and international conferences, and encourages projects in experimental media arts, print, and publications. IEA residencies and public engagement are thanks to the Shine Joseph Endowment and the New York State Council for the Arts. You can learn much more about the IEA since its founding in 1997 via our website and social media platforms. This talk is being moderated by myself, Bria Nikoloff, and my co-host, Lily Ortiz. We are students at Alfred University participating in the Business of Art class.
Hello, everyone. We are extremely delighted to introduce Lihuen Sirvent as our artist in residence at the IEA. Lihuen has been here since January 19th and will be here until February 1st. Lihuen is an Argentinian composer and flutist, currently based in Buffalo, New York. As a composer, she has participated in prestigious music festivals such as June in Buffalo, Impuls in Australia, SoundSCAPE in Italy, and Barcelona Modern in Spain. As an active performer, she has been a flutist in a range of ensembles and includes Ensemble Arsis, specializing in baroque music, Samba, a Brazilian flutist group, and Enjambre and the Academics Complex. In recent years, she has been working on music with the live electronics that generate interactions between sound and light, employing feedback systems. This path includes her work on design and building new music instruments, sound device, and music interface. We plan on hearing from our artists for roughly the next 45 minutes, and we'll have time at the end to answer any questions audience may have. Please use the chat feature if you are joining us via Zoom. We also have an in-person audience. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you so much, Lihuen, for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. That was very flattering. Hi. Okay, so as you heard, I'm a flutist, I'm a composer, I teach. Let me tell you a little bit of my background, if Zoom gets out of the way. So I went to school. I'm from Argentina. I have a degree in music composition, music research, and education at the National University of La Plata. I also studied flute in the conservatory for several years. I came to the U.S. to do a master's in music composition at UNCG, that's the North Carolina in Greensboro. And I just finished my PhD at the University at Buffalo. This is to give you the idea that I am mostly a composer. I come from school, like I have a mostly academic training in music composition in what I would call like kind of a traditional way, which is rooted in basically, I write music in a score, in a sheet music, and I give it to performers, and they play it in a concert hall. That's kind of the tradition I come from. So from that, I want to talk a little bit about what my musical thinking is, and hopefully it will explain how I got here to be a resident in work with video and with all the equipment that they have in here at the institute. So music is made out of sound, and sound is, as you probably know, a wave, and it needs 4 things for it to happen. It needs to have pitch, it needs to have duration, it needs to have a timbre, and it needs to have some volume, right? Traditionally, if you have ever taken a music theory class, went to like learn an instrument in high school or here in college or even independently, you probably have encountered things like melody, harmony, musical scales. You probably have heard about pulse, time signature, rhythm, and things like that. You probably heard about expression markings like forte, crescendo, diminuendo. All that thinking, which is the basics of music theory, is rooted in a sound thinking that is parametric. It separates sound into these parameters and understands them in isolation. It understands them as an abstraction. But the truth is that sound cannot happen if all those 4 things aren't there. You cannot have sound without duration. It's obvious, right? You cannot have sound without some pitch content, even if it is noise. You cannot have sound without timbre. You cannot have sound without some volume. If one of those is missing, you don't have them. Yet, for music, we do think of those things in abstraction, and that's how we think music composition, right? We think of a melody, and then we figure out what instrument, or we think of an instrument, and then we figure out what the instrument plays, right? It's like this type of thinking. My musical thinking is thinking more into the materiality of sound. And even though I put like a versus there, it's not like this or this, it's more like an spectrum. It's like you can think more in abstraction and these isolated categories, or you can think more of like the totality of sound, the materiality of sound, as I am calling it. So I've been walking closer and closer to the thinking of the materiality of sound. And just to be clear, it's not like I'm alone in this. There is a tradition in music that goes in this direction. This happens a lot in popular music, in a lot of genres, especially, as I said, I'm from Argentina. There is a lot of popular music there, folk music there, that doesn't have necessarily this music theory type. There is also within the Western tradition, and you could find some of that in my music as well. Like I can think of the French spectralists. You have composers like Gerard Grisey, for instance, just to name one. People who think of the sound more as a totality. If we go into the electronic music in the early beginnings of it in the 1950s, these are people who started thinking more of, okay, you can think of pitch as an abstraction, but the truth is that they do influence each other. The way in which pitch works influences amplitude, and the way in which duration works influences pitch and timbre and things like that. These things are interconnected. And I started working more and more in this, let's call it like liminal space between parameters and things where these thresholds. And working in this way started making me work more with the sound source, what is producing the sound and what is happening to the object to make a sound. If the object, think of, it can be a violin with a vibrating string or any other thing. It can be an electronic source that is producing a sound. I started working more with the object rather than the abstraction of sound, working with actual bodies. And from that, I started using instruments in different ways. Just to clarify, I'm not gonna come up with any novel way of playing an instrument. Unconventional performance on instruments is something that has been extremely explored. There are so many books written about what we would call extended techniques, to the point that they are not extended anymore. basically, if there is a way of making sound with it, with an instrument that is not damaging to the instrument, it's probably being done. So I just want you to, I just want to make very clear that this is coming from a thinking that is shared by others. But not I, by putting the focus or putting my curiosity on the sound body made me start kind of making stuff on my own and making the sound sources or tampering with the sound sources, if you will. And I started doing this mostly with software, electronic stuff. I started modifying the sound by processing it with the computer because that's the most accessible thing that I would have. But I started to have a problem with that type of interface. So, you know, I'm a flutist. I would have my flute here and my computer there, and I would do stuff, you know, on my computer. I would have a microphone, and you can picture how it's going. I just don't like that type of interface because the organic way of playing my instrument is like this, and it takes both my hands. And having to get out of my instrument to press a button on a computer that people may as well, from the audience perspective, like say, shaking her, you know, it's like you cannot understand what's going on. You cannot even imagine what's going on from just that picture. So I was having a problem with the interface of it. So I started working with it in finding ways. What can I do with this? And I started experimenting with Arduinos, which are these little microcontroller things that you can easily make something out of it. And the rest is just like more and more trying things out. One of the things that I built in this, okay, let's make other ways of other interfaces of this sound working, is I made this speaker on a cowbell. I attached a power amplifier to a cowbell and a little, like it's like a tiny speaker to play sound filtered by this cowbell, and I use it in different ways. I'm gonna show now a piece of music I wrote where I use that cowbell in two different ways. One as an amplifier. I will tell you in a second what is amplifying. And another way, using feedback, I connected a microphone to the little amplifier that I told you, and I asked the percussionist to point the microphone towards the speaker on the cowbell, so it creates this whistling kind of gliding whistling sound. Then I use it as simple speakers that sound filtered. It sounds like a metallic sound because of the resonating metal on the cowbell. Please feel free to go and sit. And what it's amplifying is this instrument that is a monochord. You will see it in, let me show you this image. So here I have the cowbell, and then that piece of wood is a monochord that the piano technician at the University at Buffalo made out of refurbished piano strings. And what I did is I installed one ebow in each string. Do you know what an ebow is? This little magnet that makes the string start vibrating on its own. And I asked the performers to take a pickup that I connected to the cowbell and amplify what is happening on the ebow. So those are kind of what I mean by different interfaces and ways of manipulating from the, let me see, from the body that is making the sound. continues in that type of sound world for a little bit longer. But for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. Well, moving on. So from this, putting from this working with the sound sources and working with electronics both on my computer and making these circuits. By the way, I forgot to mention one other instrument put here. Remember those popping sounds that were there? Those were these click little machines that I made that are basically a homemade low-frequency oscillator that I got from this book called Handmade Electronic Music by Nick Collin, and it makes the speaker pop, like kind of following this pulse. I made 3 of them for this piece. Well, actually, I made them for something else, but also used them on this piece and put them inside of the piano with very tiny speakers, but inside of the piano, so you hear the pop kind of resonating on the piano soundboard, and the pianist controls the frequency, which basically comes across as this rhythm. And this is another nice example of how sometimes frequency, if we make it slow enough, is not pitch anymore, and it becomes something that we perceive as more as a rhythmic pattern. So this type of thinking and working with the objects allow me to do more than sound with these things, and all of these things, because I already told you I come from a composition background, and that's what I did all my life. So all these other possibilities that were not necessarily sounds, for me, are still part of the music, and the way in which I think about them is still part of the music. So I kind of frame it as like a non-sonic parameter of music, where the visual becomes this non-sonic aspect of the music, the fact that we are, if we are able, we are seeing whatever is in front of us. This is interesting because in electronics, if you have, for me at least, was interesting to find that if I'm using a programming software, which I use often, that is called Max, and I put something through my microphone by playing the flute, I put it in the software, and then the outcome of that information that I gave to the computer through the microphone doesn't necessarily have to be through a speaker. I can do something else with that, because at the end of the day, in my computer, that's just data. And I can use that data in some other capacity. So I started doing things like controlling, sending that data through an interface DMX box that is called, and I would use it to control the lights of the room, right? I would connect LED lights, and with the input of the microphone, I would have different colors on the room. Or I would do it to generate video, and I would do it the other way around. And that's what here Lily, when she introduced me, when she was talking about the feedback systems, that's kind of what I mean. It's just like, oh, I can have this thing kind of feedbacking or feeding back. I don't know what's the right feeding back to it, and having some light that affects the sound and so. And when it comes to analog systems, it's kind of the same. You have this thing inside of this, let's call it like electricity, that can go to a speaker or can go to a screen. I made these little synthesizer designed by the artist on screen, Heiskis. He designed this instrument that looks like the picture there on your left. And I bought the kit. It's much cheaper and also fun to make it. So you assemble it. And let's see if video is nicer this time and actually helps me. Like, I made this stop motion kind of video with the pictures of me assembling the instrument, and the sounds that you're gonna be hearing is instead of sending the output to the screen, I just took an output to the speakers because it has audio outputs as well. So you're hearing kind of the sounds that would produce the image. Just a short thing that I did for fun. I'm gonna show a short excerpt of a piece I made, not with the sounds of this synthesizer, but yes with the images that this synthesizer can make, so for you to have an idea on how it looks, kind of. I'm gonna pause it there. Sorry, it's not louder. My computer is maxed out. I don't know if I can give more volume to the speakers in some other way. The sound of this is coming from a recording I have from a different piece. It's a recording made on tape, on a cassette, through a Walkman that is modified with a circuit that the same artist that made the video synthesizer designed. Lots of fun. I like putting kits together. And that allows the Walkman to change in speed of reproduction and recording. So the voice was recorded in different speeds, and then I played them back in different speeds and overlapped them and made like that kind of choir thing going on with the following what is going on in the video. And because of these work with tape, in this piece you cannot see it. This piece was premiered in a room with multi-channel, so it's actually like a 16-channel. You have the voices coming all over around you, and so I render it stereo here just to show it, but it's actually, you have all these voices and then the video in the front. But in the original piece where I got the recordings, you can see the singer with the Walkman recording herself and then playing back what she recorded and changing the speed and all of that. And that has been read as an element of nostalgia in what I have been working with. And especially for people, I was born in 1988. I grew up with Walkmans and CD players, so for me it does take me back. It does have some sort of nostalgia, and that's a fair assumption, and this is true in some other pieces that I do that people have seen. They have told me that they see that, but I've been thinking a lot, because that's not really how where necessarily I am coming from. I would like to reframe this nostalgic element not as a reactionary thing against the technological developments, or as in like refusing to accept technological developments, but more like kind of like a resistance type of thing, of like a moment to pause and reflect and think about the tool that is being used. And before I say more things about it, I would like to show you this quote. The highlighted part. I think culture has to learn to use high-tech machines for personal aesthetic, religious, intuitive, comprehensive, exploratory growth. That is coming from Distribution Religion. It's a document by Dan Sandin, the person who designed the instrument that you have in the room next to where we are now. Is this video, analog video synthesizer that, if I'm not mistaken, comes with all the instructions to assemble it. What year was built here? You told me
1981.
Yeah, in the 81. So like roughly was like what, less than 10 years old when it was built. So this was in a time where technology was like that. I think that today that is slightly different because we don't get to necessarily understand. We don't need to understand a cell phone to use it. We don't need to understand how it works. So that's something that kind of makes me think and makes me reflect about the tools I'm using and what they do, where they come from, what it means to have those tools. I'm gonna show you another quote, much more modern. This is James Connolly. He works, let me get this right. I don't want to give you the wrong institution. Give me 1 second. I have it here. The School of the Art Institute of Chicago. He works there. They also have a Sandin there. And in the website where he explains, it talks a little bit about the particular one that they have there. He says, all technologies have ideologies embedded in them. With the contemporary era's ideologies of AI, algorithmic consumption, and data surveillance, I believe it is important to return to tools of the past that empower users and offer alternatives. For this reason, I preserve and teach the Sandin image processor and regularly demo it for artists and researchers. So that is some of the things that I have been thinking about. It's not just nostalgia, and I am melancholic about the past. It's also kind of taking just a pause to see and analyze and actually have. It's hard to have critical thinking on something that you don't understand, and the truth is that a lot of the things that are happening right now, I personally don't understand them, so I'm just trying to reflect on that. Another aspect that is interesting to me is that Dan Sandin doesn't know me. I have never met him, but working with this machine, I don't feel that I am just having ideas and writing them down or realizing them. I don't feel like I'm working on a blank canvas. I feel like I'm having an input from the stuff. I feel like even though it's my work, I'm going to show you now some footage of what I've been working last week here. You can see the personality of the tool that I have been working with. And this is particularly true with tools like these that have very strong, for the best way I find to describe it, is personalities. You can see, and if you know this machine and you see what I'm going to show you, you could identify what it's made of. You know, you could be like, oh, yeah, this is Lihuen's piece, but she worked with the Sandin, and that's a thing on its own. And I find that input fascinating. It feels, I don't know, it feels connected to someone else's work. To me, it makes me feel connected to a tradition, to some kind of history. So I'm going to show you a roughly 5-minute selection of all the footage that I've been making in the last past week. All of it with the Sandin. I just screen record through the very convenient setup that is next door. And the sound that you're going to hear is the sound of the Sandin, but processed by one of those, not literally that one, but the Eurorack system that they have in the other room. So basically what I do is I take one of the outputs of the Sandin, and instead of sending to the screen, I send it to some module there, and then I process it by making a different patch on that, and that's what I did. I just built a patch with an LFO and filters and things like that, and just that's what you listen. So you are going to very quickly, hopefully, identify that there is a direct correlation between sound and image. And hopefully the sound will be. So that's the footage that I did. Well, that's part of it. I have many, many more hours about it. But yeah, have any questions?
Lihuen, if you don't mind repeating any questions from the room just for our recording, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I was really interested in your piece, Still Unyielding Iron.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering, like, for instance, like the feedback movements, like the person like moving the pickup, how does that look in terms of like composition, like writing out that action for that performer?
Let me see if I have the score on my computer, and I can directly show you. That's in repeating the question here, I've been asked about the notation of the Still Unyielding Iron's piece. I think I have this score here, and I can just simply show it to you if I have it in Buffalo. I'm not extremely proud of this notation yet. That's an ongoing process. This is just the score without the performance notes, which the performance notes are extremely important because that's where I tell them exactly what it is. But I was on a deadline, so the performance notes in this particular instance were delivered orally. But on the score, the part where they come, so far it looks very traditional. If you know anything about, am I sharing the screen with Zoom?
No, but it's generally working. You can see the top.
Okay, I can just very quickly. No, I can't. I can't project it. Let's do things nice for everybody. There you go. So this is the score, and if you have ever seen a score, I imagine that most people have. It's pretty normal looking. This thing here is the low frequency oscillator thing I was telling you. I call it the quick device because it can go very can be more dynamic. And then here is where I do the thing. So I said there. Let me see if I can zoom in. Sorry, I'm not looking at what I'm doing. So here I say, okay, you have to turn on the EVO, and you need to softly plug the string for the EVO to actually start doing something, because the EVO isn't that powerful sometimes. So to make sure, and then I give instructions for, because they have multiple EVOs over which EVO to put things for how long and what kind of movement they have to do around it. So it's kind of micromanaging a little bit the movement that the musician has to do. So that is like, okay, you put it on that EVO and then you move it around. Eventually, when I did this for another piece, I simplified this notation, putting fewer lines on the bottom one, and making it match more what they see, which is an instrument with 2 strings. So I would put one staff with only 2 for them to know which string they are and which EVO, and basically one of the staff is horizontal movement and the other one would be like a perpendicular, kind of like doing like this or doing like this. And just taking advantage of that these musicians, they are all trained in reading, so I really try to take advantage of that aspect, that they know how to read music very well. So and of course I know how to read music also and how to write it. So I take advantage of all the elements from that notation system as much as possible to simplify the learning process and not having them to learn a new notation system. So, okay, I know they know how to read rhythms, so I can put rhythms. And at some point, I think I went a little bit crazy with the type of rhythms that I do. Yeah, I said, like, okay, they can count the quintuplet, and it was like do, stuff like that. But honestly, I'm not checking. I'm not following exactly. Oh, you did do that quintuplet. No, it's like inviting to some improvisation. I don't know if improvisation is the right word, but within a range that is not that I'm gonna be. That's the wrong string because you heard how it sounds. Like 1 1 1. It's not really a sound that is that you can separate rhythm, pitch, and tell apart the parameters. Like going back. So hopefully these answers. Oh, thank you. It's like it could be better. Like I'm still working on how to communicate this, but it worked. They understood. They did it. So it's not terrible, but I am still thinking about this because it's a challenge how to communicate. What would happen if I wasn't there? If they just have the score, will they get it? That's kind of the questions that I have. Yeah. Any other? Yes.
Has it been learning how to use this idea because it's like a new thing for you, right? Is it?
Yes. Yes. Yes and no. I mean, first, Andrew was very helpful. And we had a very nice, let me just find my session where he showed me most of the modules. I still have some questions for some modules, especially the one that is like the one with the see-through panel that, yeah. 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 So I have not fully taken advantage of it. It does help that at the end of the day, everything is about signal flow. So if you understand signal flow, it's not extremely difficult to get used to a new system. So because of my background in coding with Max, which is a software, like a graphic programming software that you have all these things, and because of me building kits where you are putting the parts into a circuit board and you actually can see the wires going from whatever trigger to whatever output, understanding kind of like the path of things. And the sanding is, you have to make patches, so I'm just like, okay, let's see what happens when I take this output and put it in this input. And if I like it, I record it. If I don't like it, I record it too, because why not? But yeah, that has been kind of the thing. For me, the challenge is that I feel like my judgment with the visual elements is not as developed or sophisticated. Like, I'm not a visual artist, and I find that limitation sometimes. It's just like I don't have the same understanding of color that I have of, like, I don't know, frequency ranges. And my judgment for aesthetical decisions in the sound world is, I feel more developed, I feel more comfortable with my judgment in the visuals. I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I feel a little bit out. So the challenge comes more from aesthetical point of view than technical point of view. Yeah. Oh, thank you. But it's definitely, I was talking earlier, I'm actually very glad about, sorry, I forgot to repeat the question. Okay, thank you. When it comes to music, my training that is highly academic, as I was saying, I went to school for music. I didn't have like a musical intuition thing. I went to school and I sat in a classroom and they explained things to me in a board. It's highly intellectual, cerebral, like abstract thinking, right? And that's one way of approaching. For this has been more of getting acquainted with the thing and working more from a practical point of view, from experience rather than intellect. And then like the theory will come later when. But yeah, it's a fun change. Yeah. Thank you.
Question. So you were talking about nostalgia as a form of resistance. Can you go a little bit more into depth about that and how it relates to your practice?
Yes, thanks for the question. I am actually very interested in how that comes across for other people, because it's something that I have been thinking more recently, after like taking a look at a lot of my work. As I said, I just finished a PhD, and that confronts you with your past a lot, because you have to put on a portfolio, you have to present, you have to defend your dissertation, you have to do all these things that, whether you like it or not, you have to see your work and think about that. And I found this nostalgic element, and people, as I said, will tell me about it. And I was like, but I don't feel like it's reaction. I really don't feel like it. On the contrary, I am actually very open to tools as tools, regardless. So, but especially recently, these started to take shape mostly with artificial intelligence, and I can't make my mind about it, and I really don't know what to do with it. I don't know, artistically or like practically, this thing that is being enforced on us, that I'm trying not to get my emails read and and get suggestions on what to write next, let alone in my artistic practice. I don't feel comfortable with it, but on the other side, I don't want to be against it just because, So I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think a lot of it comes from, like, I don't understand how it works. I don't understand what it is. Another thing that I've been thinking is that they say that you need to know history to not repeat it, and I've been thinking about that, and I think you need to know history to actually repeat it. There is a lot of great things that happen that needs to keep happening, and I don't want them to get lost. I think no, we need to repeat some of the things that happen. These do-it-yourself, take hands-on and building your own tools, I think it's a good practice, because a lot of what you do come from making it, and if I don't know, I feel like we are getting robbed from the experience of making the thing. It's like we are kind of jumping into having the thing made, and I don't know I don't see how that is fulfilling. I don't understand it. So I don't think I have an articulated answer. It's just questions that I have in my head, and I'm very interested in what other people like you think about it, like especially younger generations. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think
that was great. No, you did. Going back to actually taking control of the tools that we're using, and almost like fighting back against this new algorithm in a way that's being pushed onto us, and just understanding where we're coming from and how our tools are made and how we're using them. So yeah, no, you answered my question. Thank you so much.
I'm glad. And it's not like I don't use AI at all. First, because it's unavoidable. It's there. It's like we're probably translating these now with subtitles and stuff. It's like, where do you think that's coming from? And that's great. I mean, if I hate making captions, I love that there is a tool that makes them for me. So it's not like I am, this is the end of the world. But yeah, I am thinking, I think caution is is a good thing to have. Anyway, yeah.
I had a question. What was like one of your hardest projects and why?
Hardest projects? Well, coming here was I don't know if hard, but a challenge, because it puts me. I had only 2 weeks to confront this new tool that I find it to be delicate, and so I'm a little bit scared also using it. It's just like, this is not mine, this is someone else's, and I never used it before, so that is part of it. But I think the hardest so far was probably my dissertation, because it involved a lot of people. I wrote a piece for, there were like 11 musicians on stage, and I mean, they were there for my piece. It's like everything was, if I didn't do it, it didn't happen, whatever I didn't do. So I had to be not just writing the music and getting sure that the rehearsals happened, that the chairs were there, the music stands, that they get paid, for which I had to apply for a grant, for which I had to make a proposal. So all these things that were not the art making, on top of the art making, and then being evaluated after that. And it's just like, I think that was the hardest, because of all the moving parts. It's like having to produce the concert, to organize the rehearsals, to make the music, to do every single aspect of it except performing it, which is, I think, performing it is the hardest part. So but yeah, that was probably the hardest, because of how many moving parts there were. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That, like, I get how intense it is sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just do my own work.
Yeah, exactly. It's the layer of having other people involved, but also being evaluated, and that means that you have deadlines and times that are not necessarily the times of your own pacing. It's all these other things that you have to keep in mind. Yeah, I think that's the real challenge, which is like, we can all think and be creative, but to actually do it, I think, is when you start realizing all the what it comes to it. Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right.
All right, well, thank you so much, Lihuen.
Thank you.
For everybody inside of the chat, I am going ahead and putting her socials up for you. And yeah, thank you again so much. This recording will be available on the IEA's YouTube channel by the end of the week. So thank you, everybody who has come to join us, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.